The Microsoft team has released the chocks regarding all the news about the new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 sim. Having a great new shiny sim is absolutely fantastic, but will your current gear be good enough to go flying with the new 2024 sim? Are you going to need to drop a wad load of cash to take full advantage of this next generation flight sim within the franchise? We'll talk all about that, including all of this week's announcements and release news, so let's jump straight into the video. A quick disclaimer, if you're here for just the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 content, you are welcome to skip forward to the last third of the video, or you can stick around to the first part of the video as we cover all of this week's big announcements and release news. But before we do that, why don't you do a sneaky click on the subscribe button so you can stay up to date when all our Flight Sim videos go live each week, because we're going to keep you up to date with 2024 news. Being that it is a very heavy Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 news a week, you'll find that many developers not updating on their current projects, as their update will generally be swallowed up with all the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 hype. That being said, we are skipping the announcements and jumping straight into this week's releases, because we have a bunch of them. Kicking off this week's release news, vFlyer is a team you may not have heard of in the Microsoft Flight Simulator space, but they have been around producing aircraft over on X-Plane for many years now. The team is known for highly realistic models that have been developed by real-world pilots and aircraft owners. In recent times, the team have been focusing on bringing some of their fleet across to the Microsoft Flight Simulator platform with their first release, which is the Piper Twin PA-30 Comanche. The team have been in development with the Twin Comanche for over a year now, and over that time they have completely redeveloped the aircraft. That being said, the vFlight Aware PA-30 Twin Comanche comes with an accurate model of the PA-30 built using real-world aircraft plans and photographs from the real aircraft. Numerous of animations including doors, cockpit storm windows, sun visors, and all the flight controls. 4K textures used throughout with a PBR. Detail bump mapping down to the rivets of the aircraft surface. Ground service support, full support when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator visual icing effects, cockpit textures that have a real wear and tear look, simulated electronical systems, a yoke mounted flight timer, native wire sound set from real world recordings of a real world aircraft, 26 different liveries, realistic flight dynamics, and you can pick up your copy of vFlight Aware's Piper PA-30 Twin Comanche from the Sim Market Store. I'll leave a link in the description below. At the time of recording this video, Jetstream Designs announced their next airport should be releasing by the time you watch this video, which is Geneva Airport. This is not the first developer that has tried to conquer Geneva Airport, and from the looks of the certain comparison shots we've seen, Jetstream's version looks to be a lot better than what we have seen in the past. We don't have a feature list of the product from the time of recording, but we can see from the team over Aviation Lads the video trailer of the airport, and we can see some features that the airport will be including, such as an up-to-date version of the airport, highly detailed airside buildings, detailed modeling of the airport interiors, custom mesh, custom taxiway and airport signs, custom taxiway and runway textures, custom animated jetways, realistic night lighting with hand-placed illumination of floodlights that glow in the right spot, built with performance in mind. And you can pick up your copy of Jetstream Designs Geneva Airport over at the Control Store. I'll leave a link in the description below. And as always, a big shout out to our friends over at the Aviation Lads YouTube channel who made this a great trailer, and in my opinion they create the best flight sim trailers going around. So if you are a flight sim enthusiast that just want to look at some amazing content, or you're a developer, I'll leave a link in the description below of their YouTube channel. You can check them out there. Another airport release for the week, and this one is from the team over at Digital Designs, as they've released St. Petersburg Polovarko Airport. The airport is the second largest airport in Russia, serving the city of St. Petersburg. A number of Russian and Middle Eastern airlines have a large number of all-round destinations they fly out of here, including seasonal destinations. Features include with the release are highly detailed airport objects, including interior of the terminals, animated custom GSE 3D airport vehicles, cars and buses, animated people in the terminals, custom GSX profile, custom jetways, accurate train and runway profiles, custom aerial imaging covering the airport and the surroundings, realistic night dynamic lighting, and major landmarks along the coastline have been included, as well as local helipads and custom animation of yachts and boats along the coastline. You can pick up your copy of St. Petersburg Pavlo Airport from the guys over at Digital Designs over at the Sim Market Store. I'll leave a link in the description below. Taxiing over to this week's Sim Update news, and holy dooly, it's been a massive week in the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator. The Microsoft team this week started their marketing campaign in the lead up to the release of the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 simulator. This is time for them to build up the hype so they can sell as many copies as possible. There is many great videos already out there about what the new sim will be including. There are many videos that are regurgitating the same thing, but I'll leave a link in the description below of two of the best videos I've found that is giving the best overviews of all the latest updates. Of course, we will be dialing down and taking a close look at all the features in separate videos here in the lead up to the release of the sim, so feel free to subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Here on the channel, we are starting by asking one of the most common questions when it comes to a new sim: how much is it going to cost me? And if you missed our video earlier this week, we talked about which is the best option for you to pre-order if you're going down the pre-order route, so feel free to check that video out. For now, we're going to take a look at the specifications that you need when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and if you currently have enough under your PC hood case to run the sim where it should be, or will you be dumping a lot of money into some new PC upgrades or even a new PC? When it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, it will be available for PC in the Microsoft Store and also on Steam, cloud gaming, and also for Xbox Series X and S. If you're an Xbox simmer currently that is running a Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 on an Xbox X or S, you're going to be up for a new console if you want to fly with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. That these days, to get a console for a Xbox Series X, it's going to set you around about a minimum of 500 plus USD to get a Series X console. Now, moving over to what PC specs you would need to run Microsoft Flight Simulator, ideally from my experience, you always want a little bit better than what the minimum specs, the recommended specs and the ideal specs say, to get your sim at an appropriate level for when it's loaded up on multiplayer or complex airports or VAT sim, that sort of stuff. You'll need more resources generally than what is written on the spec sheet. But taking a look at minimum specs, you are pretty much suited for a PC running 1080p at low settings. You may not have the smoothest or the most visual pleasing experience, but the minimum specs will get you by, but it would not be an experience I personally would like to have myself at the sim. When it comes to minimum specs for AMD, they're looking at an AMD Ryzen 5 200X as a minimum, or a CPU for an Intel Core i7 6800K, a GPU of around about a GTX 970, VRAM which comes to 4 gig, a RAM 16 gig, storage 50 gigs, and bandwidth of 10 megabytes. I'll come back to the bandwidth a little bit later. To buy a PC from these PC specifications these days would be pretty hard. That being said, if you want to have a great 1080p experience, I think a decent computer would set you back around about $800 USD, and I'll let you know towards the end of the video how I've come up with that mark. Moving over to recommended specs, which would give you a more visually pleasing sim experience, and with these specs you should be able to run Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on 2K with settings on high, or you can lower your settings down if you want to push to a 4K experience, but I would recommend not going any higher than a 2K so you can have a smooth experience. A PC would set you back around about $1,000 USD to get you up and running. The recommended specs coming from Microsoft is a CPU on the AMD side of a Ryzen i7-2700X, or when it comes to Intel, a Intel i7-10700K, a GPU of an RTX 2080 and above, VRAM 8GB, RAM 32GB, storage space 50, and bandwidth of 50 megabytes download, again, which I'll come back to that a little bit later. Moving on to the ideal specs, this is pretty much what you'll need to have a smooth performance when it comes to 4K with some eye candy settings. The Microsoft team has mentioned when it comes to AMD, you'll need a Ryzen 7 7900X or higher, an Intel CPU of an i7 14700K, a GeForce RTX 4080, which I was really surprised about that, VRAM of 12 gigabytes, RAM of 64, storage space of 50, and bandwidth of 100. If you have PC specs that are a little bit higher, you'll be able to ramp up your settings at that little bit higher to a ludicrous level. But a PC for the ideal specs, you're going to be looking for around about $1,500 plus a USD. We here at the Oz Flight Simmer channel have partnered with Apex PCs to create a flight sim lineup. We've done this since the start of 2020. Feel free to check out the private, the commercial, and the experimental range of PCs that have been picked to give you the best 1080, 2K, and 4K experience. At the moment, we have a promo code that will give you 20% discount that is going before the end of the month, so be sure to check that out, and you can play around with those different PCs and come up with different configurations, and I will leave the promo code and a link in the description below. As we just covered, to get the best experience from Microsoft Flight Simulator for many, there is extra costs other than the sim purchase. On another note, the sim is going to be a very heavily assisted to be in the cloud this time around, so a great internet connection is a must. Each country's internet averages are very different over the globe, and if you are in a country like Australia who don't have amazing internet infrastructure, it may be difficult to even get 50 megabytes download. I would suggest, in my opinion, 10 megabytes is not really going to be enough. I would suggest running a minimum when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 at 50 megabytes download to get a good experience. So hopefully that covers a few things. You might be up for a new Xbox console. You may need to go and add some upgrades to your current PC, like I do. I've actually only got 32 gig of RAM to even get ideal specs, so I'll be purchasing more to get it up to the 64 gig of RAM. If you got value out of this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, as we have more Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 content coming up each week in the lead up to the release and past the release. We've been covering this stuff for the last 5 years, so we're going to be continuing that. We love doing this stuff, so please consider subscribing. And with a big Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 news week, the team was still able to get a blog out update this week, and this week we saw a backlog list when it comes to new products for the in-sim marketplace, down by 34 to a total of 196 new products. Aircraft are up to 14, missions are down by 23, sceneries are up by 16 to 31, liveries are down by 14 to 10, airports are down by 13 to 25, and others are holding steady at 16. This week, when it comes to the in-sim marketplace releases for the week, we were still treated to a double release. On Monday, we saw 6 new products. 4 of those were available for PC and 2 of those were available for Xbox. The Monday releases included 1 excursion pack, 1 landmark pack, 1 environmental pack, and 1 airport release. On Thursday's releases, we saw 89 new products. 44 of these were available for PC and 45 of these were available on Xbox. There were 2 aircraft releases this week. The first one was the Fastcal's Sakura 8 and also the I&I Build T33, a jet trainer, that are both available for PC and Xbox. The jet trainer was released on third-party websites a couple of weeks ago, and now it's made its way through to the in-sim marketplace. The other releases this week were made up of 9 livery packs, 16 mission packs, 1 landmark pack, 2 night lighting packs, 1 scenery pack, and 12 airports. Very exciting times ahead in the lead up to the release of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on the 19th of November. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any news updates about the 24 sim. If you missed our pre-order video, go and check that one out. I will leave a link in the description and a card up here, and we will see you in another video real soon.